Over 85% of pet cats rub their owners specifically during reunion after separation, not before you leave, not while you're gone. The moment you walk back through the door. That number comes from attachment research at Oregon State University, and it tells us something strange. Your cat isn't just saying hello. Rubbing is a behavior with layers, and most of what you think it means is incomplete at best. Domestic cats carry specialized scent glands in their faces, concentrated around the mouth, chin, forehead, and the area between eyes and ears called the temporal region. When your cat presses any of these zones against you, furniture, or another cat, those glands release a cocktail of pheromones and oils invisible to human noses, but readable by other cats. Science calls this behavior allorubbing when directed at another individual, bunting when it's the head specifically, and object rubbing when aimed at furniture or door frames. The puzzle: why does the same physical action happen in so many different situations? What is your cat actually communicating? In feral cat colonies, researchers observe a predictable sequence. One cat approaches another with tail held vertically, a visual flag of friendly intent. Contact follows, head rubbing, flank rubbing, sometimes mutual grooming. Ethologists, scientists who study animal behavior in natural settings, classify this as affiliative behavior, meaning it strengthens social bonds, rather than establishes dominance or communicates threat. The pattern repeats across colonies worldwide, from barn cats in England to street cats in Tokyo. John Bradshaw, a biologist who has spent decades studying domestic cat social structures, argues that cats generalize this colony greeting to humans. When your cat approaches you with a vertical tail and rubs against your legs or hands, the motor pattern mirrors what happens between bonded cats. Your cat is treating you as a social partner, not a piece of furniture. The behavior predates domestication by thousands of years, rooted in how wild felids navigate complex social hierarchies. Biochemist Patrick Paget and veterinary researcher Gaultier identified at least 5 distinct fractions in feline facial secretions, labeled F1 through F5. The F4 fraction appears during allorubbing, when a cat rubs its face on another individual. Research proposes that F4 signals familiarity and group membership, reducing the chance of aggression toward anyone carrying that scent. Think of F4 as a chemical name tag that says, "This person belongs to my social circle." The idea of a shared group scent is appealing. Cats in a colony rub each other and objects, theoretically creating a communal odor profile. But direct experimental proof is thin. No study has yet isolated F4 from a human's skin, after a cat rubs them and tested whether other cats respond to that human differently. The model fits behavioral observations, but the exact perceptual experience, what the cat smells when detecting F4, remains partly hypothetical. A 2025 master's thesis tested cats in a separation and reunion scenario. Researchers tracked how often cats rubbed their owners versus rubbing a scent object that carried the owner's odor. Cats rubbed the person far more than the object, and over 85% of cats that displayed allorubbing did so during the reunion phase, not before separation. Cats classified as securely attached, meaning they used their owner as a safe base for exploration, and showed moderate distress when alone, rubbed the most. This pattern suggests rubbing functions as a contact-seeking behavior within an attachment bond, not just a territorial stamp. The behavior appears most intensely when the bond has been temporarily interrupted by absence. When your cat wraps around your ankles after you've been gone, the behavior is social. The cat is re-establishing contact, refreshing scent markers, and signaling that you are recognized and accepted. Whether this also triggers hormonal changes, like oxytocin release, is still unknown. No published study has measured cat brain chemistry or cortisol levels during rubbing on humans, so any claim that rubbing releases bonding hormones is speculation, not fact. Walk through your home and watch where your cat rubs. Doorways, furniture corners, the edge of the food bowl. These are not random. Cats preferentially mark vertical surfaces and transition points, places they pass frequently, or where they make decisions about where to go next. The distribution of rub marks creates a spatial map, invisible to us but rich in information for the cat. The F3 pheromone fraction is deposited mainly when a cat rubs its muzzle and cheeks on inanimate objects. Paget and Gaultier proposed that F3 marks serve as spatial reference points, helping the cat orient within its territory and signaling that an area is familiar and safe. The presence of F3 is thought to contribute to emotional stability, a kind of olfactory map that says, "I know this place, nothing here is a threat." This model is supported indirectly by clinical use. Feline Classic, a synthetic analog of F3, has been tested in controlled trials for reducing stress-related behaviors. Cats exposed to synthetic F3 in carriers, veterinary cages, and new environments show measurably less urine spraying, hiding, and agitation compared to controls. The pheromone does not sedate the cat or alter brain chemistry directly. Instead, it appears to signal environmental safety, which in turn reduces arousal. The cat's nervous system interprets the presence of F3 as evidence that the space has been previously explored and deemed non-threatening. One study exposed cats to tubes containing human body odor. Cats sniffed the tubes first, then rubbed their faces and bodies on them. The sequence, sniff then rub, suggests that olfactory exploration orients the cat for subsequent marking. The cat is not erasing the foreign smell, it is layering its own scent on top, integrating the object into its known environment. Because humans move, some researchers propose that rubbing a person also refreshes F3 and other facial pheromones on a mobile object that carries the group scent around the home. This would explain why cats often rub more intensely when you return from outside, after you shower, or when you change clothes, all situations where your scent profile has shifted. But this mobile territory idea has not been directly tested. No experiment has quantified which pheromone fractions cats deposit on humans versus furniture, or whether cats respond differently to a person who has been recently rubbed versus one who has not. The hypothesis fits the pattern, but it remains an educated guess built on object rubbing data, not interspecific proof. Think of your cat treating you like a walking scent post, a familiar landmark that happens to move from room to room. A 2025 study published in PLOS One by Saito and colleagues presented cats with tubes containing their owner's scent, an unfamiliar person's scent, and a blank control. Cats spent more time sniffing the stranger's odor, which indicates they distinguished between known and unknown individuals by smell alone. The shorter sniff time for the owner suggests recognition. The cat already knows that scent and does not need prolonged investigation. After sniffing, many cats rub their faces on the tube. The incidence of rubbing correlated positively with owner-cat closeness scores, a measure derived from questionnaires about daily interaction and attachment. Cats with higher closeness scores were more likely to mark the owner-scented tube. The authors interpreted this as evidence that rubbing behavior is modulated by the social relationship. Cats rub more on scents associated with individuals they are bonded to. A related study examined how cats respond to human emotional odors, collected from people experiencing fear, happiness, physical stress, or neutral states. Cats exposed to fear-related odors displayed more stress behaviors and used their nostrils asymmetrically, a pattern linked to how the brain processes emotional information. The right and left hemispheres handle different types of stimuli, and nostril choice reflects which hemisphere is dominant for a given scent. This research did not focus on rubbing, but it reinforces that human scent carries rich, emotionally relevant information for cats. Rubbing likely fits into a broader olfactory emotional processing system: sniff to assess, then rub to mark or respond. The Oregon State Attachment Study also measured stress behaviors. Cats showed fewer signs of distress, less hiding, less pacing, when their owner was physically present compared to being alone with an owner-scented object. The owner's presence had a unique calming effect that scent alone could not replicate. Rubbing during or after mildly stressful events, a visitor arriving, a loud noise, a trip to the vet, may serve a dual function. The cat deposits familiar pheromones on the person and engages in tactile affiliative contact. Both actions together could help regulate arousal, bringing the cat's stress level down. Rubbing on a trusted person is like a child holding a parent's hand during a scary movie. The contact itself is reassuring, but direct physiological proof is missing. No study has drawn blood before and after a rubbing episode to measure cortisol or oxytocin in cats. The calming effect is inferred from behavior, proximity seeking, reduced agitation, not from hormones or brain scans. Claims that rubbing lowers your cat's stress hormones are plausible but unproven. Cats are quick learners. If rubbing against your legs is reliably followed by food, petting, or a door opening, the behavior becomes a tool. Behaviorists call this operant conditioning. A voluntary action is reinforced by a rewarding outcome, so the action becomes more frequent in that context. Applied behavior manuals and shelter education materials consistently describe head bunting and rubbing as attention-getting behaviors. Cats repurpose existing motor patterns, meowing, pawing, rubbing, into context-specific signals directed at humans. The same rub that functions as social bonding in one moment can function as a request in another. Interpretation depends on context and body language. A cat rubbing your hand while you sit quietly, then settling beside you, is displaying affiliative contact. A cat rubbing your legs while leading you toward the kitchen near feeding time, often with vocalizations and tail up, is more likely requesting food. Scientific work rarely dissects these fine distinctions. Controlled experiments typically measure rubbing frequency or duration, not the situational meaning. Popular claims that 1 head bump means feed me, 2 means play with me, are extrapolations, not evidence-based codes. No ethological study has mapped rubbing sequences to specific requests with that level of precision. What we can say: cats learn to use rubbing strategically. Your responses shape when and how often your cat rubs. If you consistently pet your cat after a head bunt, expect more head bunts. If you open the door every time your cat rubs the door frame and meows, that behavior will persist. The cat is not manipulating you in a calculated human sense, but is responding to reliable patterns in your behavior. Your cat is running a simple experiment every day. Rub, see what happens, repeat what works. Rubbing is not one message, it is 5, sometimes more, layered on top of each other depending on context, relationship, and what just happened. Your cat is marking you as a social partner, refreshing scent maps, recognizing your smell, seeking comfort, and yes, sometimes asking for dinner. The behavior is older than domestication, rooted in the social structures of wild cat ancestors, and adapted to life with humans. Every rub is a sentence in a language we are only beginning to decode. Cats navigate a world built for creatures 3 times their size, using tools we cannot see and signals we are just learning to read. When your cat presses its face against your hand, it is speaking in pheromones, in touch, in trust. We may never smell what they smell or feel what they feel, but we can watch, measure, and listen. And in that watching, we find a species far more socially complex than the solitary hunter myth ever suggested.